What's going on, Jeromes? It's the most wonderful time of the year. NFL Combine is underway, and yes, it is the Underwear Olympics, and yes, it is easy to do really well running straight forward in a straight line in your underoos. How does that translate to the football field? Fully understand that, right? And with the Combine, it shouldn't automatically. All right, so say you have a fringe draftable player, like seventh rounder, priority UDFA, sort of had whatever tape, maybe has injuries, maybe is a little bit older, maybe isn't a scheme fit, whatever. Just because they do well in the Combine does not mean that you should bump them up from seventh round undraftable up to first or second round. No, that isn't what it is. All right, so you watch these players during the college football season, you watch the tape, you develop theses and prognostications about them in the NFL, and then Combine is just checking the boxes. Like, oh yes, the movement skills are there. Yes, the three cone is good. Yes, the explosiveness with the vert and the long jump are there, or broad jump, whatever. It'd be great if they let them long jump or triple jump or something like that, man. All right, so that's basically what it is. Basically, the Combine is just to rubber stamp what you already think. Or if a player who looks fast and quick or strong on tape, all of a sudden sort of lacking in some of the drills, you have to figure out what went on there. Did they just have a bad day, or are they functionally good to go in a football sense? Right. So that's basically what you can do. Now, just like a good player on tape doesn't necessarily fall off with a marginal Combine, and a bad player on tape with a really good Combine shouldn't really jump up there. But of course, we see it every single year. Teams fall in love with the, hey, get the physical dude. But just run through this thing. So yes, there's a whole bunch of drills that went on last night, defensive line and linebackers. But Dan Brugler over at the Athletic, official 40-yard times on the edge. Chop Robinson 4.48. That's flying. That's insane, man. That's gonna be faster than a good amount of the wide receivers out here. Plus, it really just does seem like guys are getting faster. Guys are getting faster. Guys are getting stronger, and it could just be the athletes are getting better. Sure, I mean that happens from generation to generation. Put Paul Hornung in the Combine and see how he does. With this like 4.9 40. I mean Gale Sayers probably ran like a 4.7 or something like that. I don't know, man. But also training for the specific events, I'm sure that really does go into that too. So, but see, Mo Kamara, our guy from Colorado State, is up there. Jared Verse is a freak, man. We'll get into Verse here in a second. Latu, checking the boxes. Braylon Trice, blah, blah, blah. Brennan Jackson, this is a guy that we like a lot for, day 3 for Washington State. Defensive tackles, of course. Braden Fiske made himself some money where his movement skills are really damn good. And plus, I think that, his best spot is probably that 3-tech, but early down, play a little bit on the edge-ish, play some 4-tech, 5-tech for the Vikings. Let's go, man. Also, Rook Aurora really made himself some dough. Byron Murphy. Chris Jenkins was really moving, which is good. Dwayne Carter is a guy I still like a lot from Duke, heart and hustle guy. Now, part of this Braden Fiske absolutely destroyed it, man. So the RAS is on a scale of 10. Now, what it is 10 means 100 percentile. So Braden Fiske is at 99.7 percentile. So his numbers are better than 99.7% of similarly tested positional guys. Right. So his 4.78 40, great 10-yard split, 4.37 in the shuttle. He's flying out there too. Insane vertical for his size, insane broad jump. I mean, this freaking guy. And here's what you need to take into account. So Fiske, if you put up these numbers, but he had been whatever on tape, like maybe he never really understood his assignments, maybe he was constantly freelancing, maybe he wasn't a team player. Good numbers does not eradicate that. But Fiske, is a high IQ player. All heart and hustle. He's a big part of that great Florida State defensive line. And, yeah, it does translate. His quickness, his first step, his penetration, it certainly does show up. Now, take everything with a grain of salt, or everything needs to happen with context. So our guy, Tavondre Sweat, the nose tackle from Texas. Now, he's like the inverse of Bryce Young. Remember Bryce Young? There's some concerns that he would be like 180, and then he just like came into the combine at like 205. But he didn't throw because obviously he was like weighed down. But the concern with T'Vondre Sweat is if he was too heavy. And he weighed in at 366. He apparently was officially 365 at Texas. But there's always concern about the large size nose tackles. Like, hey, if they get to 380, they're probably not going to be able to move, and it's not good. Now, he clocks in at 4.1 RAS, so 41st percentile, but you have to take everything with a grain of salt. So he's measured against all the other defensive tackles. That includes guys like Braden Fiske. That includes guys that are like 280 pounds. So a 280-pound defensive tackle running a 4.9 versus a 366-pound defensive tackle running a 5.27. The latter is much more impressive. So, actually, this could help. Maybe Sweat's numbers will push him down in the draft, and maybe the Vikings will get him later than we expect. Who knows, man? And also, T'Vondre out there putting up the 5.27. Josh Metellus, who's been very active on social media as of late. Yeah, big fella. Let's go. Go, man. It's some Michigan and Texas love right there. Also, speaking of Jared Verse, so the pride of Albany, pride of Florida State. So he's going to come in. He's going to be a power player right away. And it's always funny with the combine. So they always compare and contrast the draftable players versus previous players. And last year, Will Anderson, number 3 overall pick, the edge rusher out of Alabama, and Jared Verse, very similar in stature, very similar in arms, similar in 40. But production-wise, Will Anderson was a more polished product coming in. And Jared Verse, he probably would have been a first-round pick if he would have declared last year, but ran it back with Florida State. He and Fiske were great along that offensive line. It's going to be defensive line. So I think that... I think Dallas Turner made himself some money. I think that Latu is fine. I think Jared Verse made himself some money. I think it's going to be really interesting when the Vikings are at 11 if they don't go quarterback. Linebackers wise, so Peyton Wilson from NC State. Dallas Turner, he included with the off balls, which is interesting. Kalen DeLoach. Florida State was just racked up and jacked up on that defense, man. Insane. Edgerrin Cooper, my guy from Texas A&M. Jordan McGee from Temple. A bit of a worst kept secret right now. Kind of stinks, but is what it is. And also Cedric Gray, 4.64. Seems like he plays a little bit faster than that. Also, with the combine is, so you always have these interviews, right? And generally, the information in the team interviews doesn't really get out unless it's something outlandish. It's like, hey, was your mother a prostitute? Jeff Ireland with Des Bryant back in the day. But these open media scrums are kind of fun. And this is from Brett Sobleski from Bleach Report. Texas Tech Tyler Owens, who's a favorite to post the fastest 40 at this year's NFL Combine, doesn't believe in space, as in other planets, and still feels flat Earth theories have some valid points. So say you're like an astronomy professor at Texas Tech, and you're just like, no. Or hey, you're the president of Texas Tech, and you're just like, we as an academic institution, nah. It's like, I understand, like, think about flat Earth and stuff, but how can you not believe in space? You literally just, like, look up. What is that? Are those paint splotches? Don't understand. Maybe he went to Jupiter to get more stupider. I don't know. There's lots of options there. Also, an option is that the Vikings decide to part ways with Alexander Mattison, and it makes sense. And I like that Kwesi. I like that Kwesi admitted the mistake early and didn't further the damage. And Mattison last year signed the 2-year deal. Incentives could have gotten up to $8 million, but the Vikings saved $3.35 million in cap space this year. And last year it just didn't work. All right, and you could blame some of it on the offensive line, blame some of it on Kevin O'Connell, but Mattison just didn't have that spark. And it became like a trope. Like the first play of every single drive, Mattison up the gut. Why? It was rough, man. But Mattison is a good dude, great in the community, very good at the off the field work, and I think he still is a good all around running back. But is he a RB1? No. Is he a very good RB2? Yes. And he's the Vikings actually did him a solid by releasing him early, so he and his agent get a head start on free agency. Because remember, players who are cut and do not have expiring contracts can actually sign at any time. They don't have to wait for legal tampering or free agency. But Ty Chandler's season is among us, or the Vikings, maybe they kick the tires on some free agents, or certainly in the draft. But yeah, again, I like that KOC didn't compound the error. Said, it's time to move on. It's time for a new beginning. There you go. Speaking of which, so ESPN bet put this out. Who is the best wide receiver in the NFL? So Justin Jefferson and a whole bunch of other slappies, right? And it's like, ooh, this is tough. Thinking cloud emoji. Thinking. No, this is not tough at all. And I understand that JJ sort of out of sight, out of mind last year. Still put up 1,000 yards, which is really damn impressive. But yeah, JJ revenge tour, probably even with a new contract too. And also, JJ doesn't strike me as the type of player that once he gets the bag, that he just coasts. And you do see that with a lot of players, and you're thinking about them right now, and some of those players are pictured right here. But Jefferson, I mean, the JJ Revenge Tour is going to be glorious. JJ 2K, I think it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. Also, JJ needs a nap from that picture. I need a nap too. Also, wrapping up here. So Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell famously, back in the day, 2008 NFL Combine quarterback coming out of San Diego State, third-round pick by the Patriots. So he was asked, this is from Vikes fan page, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is confident he would run the fastest 40-yard dash out of every current head coach in the NFL. I don't know if my hamstrings would survive, but I would still give myself 40 yards to beat anybody out there. So, I mean, there's some young-ish guys in the league. I mean, Rob Salah looks like he keeps in shape. Kyle Shanahan's still young. He played receiver at Texas back in the day. Mike McDaniel just sprints everywhere, right? So, I mean, it may be a little tough. I mean, Mike McDaniel looks like he's in shape too. But I think that the number one competition for Kevin O'Connell would be DeMeco Ryans. So Kevin O'Connell ran a 4.6 140, which is pretty damn good. But DeMeco Ryans at the 2006 Combine, remember, he's only 39, only a couple years older than Kevin O'Connell. He ran a 4.65. Now, DeMeco looks like he's staying in really damn good shape as well. So I wonder what would happen. Like, honestly, if you gave these guys like the entire offseason to train and they ran it on the first day of training, their respective training camps, I wonder what would happen. I mean, they're both very competitive guys. I feel like DeMeco would go to the mats for this. Like, DeMeco at 39 might run a 4.4. I don't know, man. But if there was a head coach 40 off, I would take Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, it really damn good. There you go. But that is it. That's your Vikings news dump for this wonderful Friday. NFL Combine rolls along tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday as well. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.